Hello and welcome to a new video. So this one's going to be going over quite a bit. Basically, there is a new One Piece trading card game coming soon, and I wanted to take a very quick look at what we know so far. So we've had this info kind of dropped in two different batches, I guess. There was an initial reveal, and then earlier today we got a little bit of more info. And when I say a little bit, I mean like a little bit. But it was exciting enough that I wanted to talk about it. I always thought the idea of a One Piece card game was really good. In fact, I feel like I kind of willed this into existence because for trading card games, you need a lot of content. You know, you're going to be releasing a lot of cards, so you're going to need a lot of things to base the cards on within the series. And, well, I don't need to tell you that One Piece is big. Not only is it long, but it's very vast. It's got lots of new islands, new characters, you name it. There's tons of things to base cards off of. And, well, now it's been announced. So I'm just going to be taking a look at some of the info we know so far. I'll be showing images of the things I talk about as we go. But I'm pulling a lot of this information from the official website, which I will link down in the description so you can take a look at yourself, and also the recent One Piece stream that happened earlier today as of recording, where they revealed a lot of info to do with One Piece, not just to do with the card game, but to do with the upcoming movie Red, as well as the new video game One Piece Odyssey. Of course, today we'll be talking about the card game, but I do recommend checking out that stream. Again, link in the description below, so you can see all this other cool stuff too, if you somehow haven't already. So first I'll be taking a look at info from the website. This is the info we've had for a little while, but I thought I'd go over and give my thoughts as we went, and then we'll be getting to the newer stuff as we progress. So let's do it. So first of all, we have this statement seemingly from Eiichiro Oda himself. We got this little doodle of Luffy kind of playing with the cards with Kaido on top of him, and it says, "Luffy, I summon my Kaido card," and Kaido says, "No way," which is very much that Eiichiro Oda sense of humor. So below it, it has a statement saying, "A new trading card game is on the way. I don't know much about trading card games, but this is something like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? They jump right from the cards, yeah? I heard they're going to use illustrations from the original work and release it worldwide. They're going really all out. And I'll see it through to the end. Let's go, One Piece card game. Can't wait, Eiichiro Oda. They don't actually jump out the cards. Phew." So yeah, no, that statement very much does have Oda's sense of humor. You know, Oda will be asked to give a statement to advertise a new product coming out, and he will instead shell for a different product, Yu-Gi-Oh, and then make a joke hyping up a thing that the card game doesn't even do. Yep, that's Oda alright. I like the drawing, it's very charming, and it does give you a little bit of an idea of what this game is going to be like. So one of the really important things he mentions here is illustrations from the original work. So what does this mean? It means, seemingly, that this will be using images from the manga as assets. And I think we can move over to the next image now, yes. So this image kind of gives you an idea of what an average card is going to look like. And I will say I'm a little bit mixed on using the manga illustrations in the card game. See, the reason I like card games, at least part of the reason I like card games, is collecting all the cool looking artwork, right? And of course, there's no denying Oda's artwork looks gorgeous, of course. But the problem is Oda's artwork isn't specifically made for a card game. It's made for a manga. And so taking it from its one context and putting it in another context doesn't look as good as original art would. I'm sure there's probably going to be the odd one or two cards drawn from scratch by Oda for the specific intention of the card game, but I expect those to be very, very few and far between, considering, well, Oda's a very busy man, and so I'd rather he set his priorities straight and focus on the manga rather than the card game. Now, the thing is, I don't know how rarities are going to be done, but we do know, as we'll get to in a second, that there will be original artwork drawings for this game, and those are the cards I'm a lot more interested in. So what we're looking at right now is what I'm assuming will be commons, maybe? I don't know for certain. Again, I don't know how the rarities are done. But basically, we're using promotional art from the manga. One thing I will say is I'm happy it's manga artwork. And they have clarified this before. It's manga artwork, not anime. And I think that looks a lot nicer. First of all, Oda's artwork looks really, really good, even when taken out of context like this and put into a card. Much more so than the anime artwork, in my opinion. I think Oda's artwork has a lot of character to it. So I do prefer it being manga artwork over anime artwork. Plus, with manga artwork, manga's made to look good in still images. Whereas, well, with anime, we could run into the Weiss Schwarz problem of just taking screenshots of episodes. And if we do hit that point, then my interest would lower severely. Because as I mentioned, to me, a lot of the appeal of card games is collecting cool-looking artwork. So yeah, it's a little worrying to see them, like, kind of just use already existing manga art. However, as we go into this next image here, we will see that not all is lost. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume this is a higher rarity card. I can't really see anything written on the card specifically to denote rarity. In fact, as you're seeing from the card here, we're not really seeing much info at all. We're seeing a number in the top left corner. We're seeing another number in the top right corner. And then at the bottom of the card, we are seeing the phrase character card or Kara card, followed by the character's name, and then another smaller piece of kanji underneath, and then of course the border of the card. In this specific example is green, whereas other ones are different colors. So we're not seeing much info, we're not seeing any kind of like effect or skill text. However, I do believe this could be a placeholder thing. You know, I do believe, for example, in Cardfight Vanguard, a lot of the time when they show promo images of cards, but they're not quite ready to reveal like the effects of said cards, they will just remove the effect text box, and there is definitely a space where it could go in the lower half of the Yamato drawing. In fact, it's kind of framed in such a way that you are kind of supposed to pay attention to the top half of the drawing, whereas the bottom half, where his like skirt thing is, you could cover that with text and get away with it, is what I'm saying. In fact, going back and looking at the Luffy drawing from the previous image, same kind of applies there too. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a placeholder and the real cards will have effect texts. Because let's face it, if it doesn't have any more effect text and it really is just the two numbers in the top corners that are giving away info, I don't know how deep you can make a card game with just those two numbers and no real text. So that's what I'm imagining it is, which is pretty good, because if we assume that the bottom half of the card is going to have a box with text in it, these are really nicely designed cards. Now, generally I don't tend to care for cards, like card games with like white borders. It makes them look fairly cheap, like as if they just saved money on ink. But here it looks really classy and minimalist. I like it a lot. I wonder if it denotes the rarity, because that other Luffy card had a red border, whereas this one has a white border, right? So maybe the border color could just be a temporary placeholder thing, or it could denote rarity. I'm willing to bet like the kind of green in this Yamato card is supposed to kind of convey a certain type of character, similar to clans or nations in Cardfight Vanguard, or even just, you know, Pokemon typing in the Pokemon card game, right? Where like certain types will go together very well, because we already know that there is going to be a like Kaido and Beast Pirate, or Animal Kingdom Pirate if you're using the official translations, but Beast Pirate sounds cooler, themed deck coming out when this card game first releases, and maybe like the Beast Pirate cards could be like green colored to show that they synergize well with each other, which, if you know anything about One Piece's story, is kind of ironic considering that Yamato hates the Beast Pirates, but whatever, I'll forgive it. And then the card back is very nice too. We can see the card back here, and again, it looks very minimal and classy, which is nice. I like it a lot. It certainly doesn't look too busy or ugly. It definitely looks like they actually tried to make something that looks good, and that's the main thing I want to talk about with this Yamato card here. Is the artwork is phenomenal. If we get a decent amount of cards that look this good or better, then I'm in anyway. Because that's the thing, we don't know anything about how the game plays right now, at least not that I'm aware of. I'm sure we'll get, like, the rules explained to us closer to the release of the game, which will be later in 2020. I believe it's July for, I believe it's July for Japan, and some point later on in 2022, probably winter, like near the end of the year for us in English-speaking countries. And I'm sure that closer to July, we'll get, like, the rules released officially, and I'll go through those when we do. But honestly, even regardless of if the rules are good or bad, if we get card artwork that looks this good, I'm in anyway, because I would love a binder full of One Piece cards that look this good. And we've had some more evidence in today's news drop that seems to prove that we will be getting a lot of cards with nice artwork. I am going to, for now, assume that cards like this are going to be, like, higher rarity. You know, like, those will be the cards you're chasing after when you're opening packs, and then the more traditional, like, manga art style will be, like, the commons, but I guess we'll just have to see, right? So going back to the Luffy image from earlier, we can see this, like, Don card. That's, like, the katakana for Don, and it's kind of like an inside joke within the One Piece community. The Oda really loves using Don as a sound effect for everything. He mentions this in a lot of his, like, Q&A sections in the manga. And it seems to have, if you can see at the bottom of the card, a plus 1000 effect. So from that, we can assume that the card in the top right-hand corner of the character cards is, like, their power level or something, like their attack power. And then by using this Don card, you can probably equip it to Luffy here to give him another 1000. As we can see too with this Luffy card, it kind of proves the thing I mentioned earlier about the, like, cards being placeholders for now, because the information is moved around. So from this Luffy card, we can see the number that was originally in the top left on Yamato's card is actually in the bottom right for Luffy. He has, like, a 5 in the bottom right of his card. And then he has another symbol in the bottom left, which I can't really seem to make out, but it is certainly some kind of symbol. Maybe it ties into the color of the card, how Luffy is red and Yamato's green. So yeah, I'm very interested to see where they go with that, and what the rules will be like. So now we're getting into the starter decks. So we have 4 starter decks from the looks of things. We have the Straw Hat Crew, the Worst Generation, the 7 Warlords of the Sea, and the Animal Kingdom Pirates. So yes, these are our 4 starter decks, and they will release as the game releases, basically. So these will be like, picking a starter Pokemon in Pokemon, you're kind of picking your starter deck for One Piece. So which deck would you like to start off with? The Straw Hats, the Worst Generation, the 7 Warlords, or the Animal Kingdom Pirates. Now, these are 4 very interesting choices, because I feel like you could probably make a deck out of any given pirate crew, but a lot of these decks, well, 2 of them specifically, are kind of fusions of a lot of pirate crews. So the Worst Generation and the 7 Warlords, as you can probably guess, are a combination of a lot of different pirate crews. Which is interesting. I imagine what will happen, say for example with the Worst Generation, you've got different pirate crews like Law's Heart Pirates, and you've got Eustace Kid's Pirates, and so on and so forth, right? And maybe this starter deck will give you some of the cards you need for each of those individual decks, and then from opening packs of various sets, you can kind of get the rest of Law's crew, like Beppo, for example, and kind of slot those in there to turn it from a Worst Generation deck to a Heart Pirates specific deck. So those 2 decks, specifically the Worst Generation and 7 Warlord ones, could potentially, like, give you, like, a lot of cards that kind of work together in the starter decks, but they work really well if you find other cards from the sets that work better with the individual cards. Like, for example, you could take Boa Hancock from the 7 Warlords deck and put cards together from packs to put together like an Amazon Lily themed deck and that kind of thing. Which is interesting because the other 2 decks, the Straw Hat one and the Animal Kingdom Pirates ones, those are just one crew, right? The Straw Hats and the Animal Kingdom Pirates. And what I imagine is these cards are going, for these two decks specifically for sure, are going to get power crept out. This deck is not going to give you the strongest Luffy card there is. My prediction, and emphasis on this being a prediction, I think that each different version of each character is also going to be its own card. For example, Gear 2nd Luffy is also going to be its own card. Gear 3rd Luffy is going to be its own card. But then also each different island version of Luffy is going to be its own card. So, for example, you'll have Luffy in his Wano outfit, Luffy in his Return to Fishman Island outfit, Luffy in his Thriller Bark outfit, that kind of thing. So I think there's going to be a lot of different Luffy cards, and we're going to get a fairly vanilla and weak version of Luffy from this deck. Maybe it could work similar to Pokemon Evolutions, where you need the basic Luffy and then you kind of stack the different power-ups and different forms of him on top of the basic one. So the cards here are still useful. You just need to combine them with other cards. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how well these 4 decks are balanced against each other, if there's going to be one that's outright better than the others. But I do think they're a fairly solid pick, because between those 4, let's face it, most One Piece fans are going to gravitate towards one of the 4, even if it is just the Straw Hat one. For me personally, obviously the Straw Hat one is an obvious given. Everyone's going to pick that one up. But also I'm interested in the Animal Kingdom Pirates ones, because I really like Yamato a lot, and I just really like the Wano arc in general. Although, honestly, I wouldn't mind getting all 4 decks, just because, well, One Piece is that good, and I definitely have at least a couple of characters I'm really attached to from each deck. Assuming we get all the characters that you would imply we get from each deck, I'm assuming we're going to be getting characters like Law from the Worst Generation deck, and where would Jinbei go, actually? I wonder if you get Jinbei in the Straw Hat deck or in the Seven Warlord deck. That'll be interesting to see. Maybe you get a different version of Jinbei depending on which one you get. I don't know. Will you get Blackbeard in the Seven Warlords deck? That's a good question. Which version of the Warlords are you getting? I'm imagining it's the Warlords as they were at the beginning of the series, because they specifically used an image of Crocodile, and minor One Piece spoilers here, Crocodile is the first character we as the audience get to see get booted off of the Warlords. So there is a strong chance that that's the version of the Warlords they're using. In fact, that might be specifically why they chose to use Crocodile as the image, but we'll see, right? So I lied. There isn't actually 4 starter decks. There is going to be 1 extra one that has already been announced. And we actually got quite a bit more info about this one today, so I'm going to just skip over the image from the website and go directly to the brand new news. And yes, there's going to be another starter deck, 5th one. Now, this one I don't believe will be releasing at the exact same time as the others. In fact, in Japan, it seems like this deck will be releasing to coincide with the new movie One Piece film Red, whereas of course over here it'll be releasing a few months later, because the card game itself will be a few months later. I'm interested to see how many months later, but the fact that we've already had an English version announced to release in the same year as the Japanese version is a very, very good sign. I'm happy about that a lot. So yes, in Japan this will be releasing to coincide with the One Piece film Red, which is very exciting because, well, it's a movie-themed deck. So it's going to contain cards to do with the various One Piece movies, and as you can probably guess, put 2 and 2 together, the main cards, the main drawer of the deck, is most likely going to be the characters from One Piece film Red, including the new female character who's been all across the marketing, and very smart move. In fact, they may even pull a promotional stunt where if you go to see the movie in Japanese cinemas, you will get given a promotional card that ties in with the film. I've had that happen with me with Pokemon before. I'm sure everyone remembers going to see Pokemon movies in cinemas and getting promotional cards. It can work kind of like that. And if they do that, that's a really clever move, because then people will want to actually go out and buy the deck the promotional card ties in with, and the deck will be releasing around the same time. So very, very smart business moves. That's one thing I love about this card game so far, is the way they've been marketing themselves is very nicely done. The release timings seem to be fairly solid. As I mentioned it a little bit earlier, the fact that we already have info on the English version is fantastic. The amount of times where with card games, Japan gets all the news first, and English-speaking countries are kind of left in the dark a bit for a while, and kind of have to go through this period of wondering whether or not we're even going to get it. It's a bit sad and depressing. So the fact that we know for a fact we are getting it, and we know around about when we are going to get it, is a really good sign. That means a lot to me. Now, of course, One Piece is a massive franchise, so maybe that could just be something you would assume, but I still appreciate it anyway, because One Piece is nowhere near as popular in the West as it is in Japan anyway. So the fact that they're still prioritizing the West like this and keeping us in on this info is something I greatly appreciate. And it will not go unnoticed. So next we have a little bit of info about the first set. So the first set is called Romance Dawn, fittingly, right? And the set code is BT01. And then we have 12 cards per pack. That's quite a generous amount of cards, if I'm completely honest. A lot of card games tend to stick around 7 to 9. Pokemon's hovering around 10. One Piece giving you 12? That's quite nice. In fact, that kind of makes up for the fact that some of the cards have reused artwork, depending on how many of those cards it is. Again, I'm going in with the assumption that all of the commons will just use manga artwork, whereas any rarity that's higher than a common will have original brand new art. That's just my assumption. I could be incorrect though. And if so, getting 12 cards per pack definitely kind of helps balance things out a bit more. We'll have to see though. I definitely do need to see how they explain how the rarities are going to work. But hey, 12 cards per pack, that makes me assume there's at least going to be one guaranteed rare per pack, if not an even higher rarity, So I'm a big fan of that. We don't know much about the set though, however. So it's called Romance Dawn, which of course is the first arc of the entire series. So it's very fitting. And it made me think that maybe we would be getting cards specifically that tie into that arc. However, as you can see, the pack artwork, which could be placeholder for sure, seems to be displaying character designs from the current Wano arc. So I don't know how they're going to do it. Is each arc going to tie in with a certain... is each set going to tie in with a specific arc, or is it going to be a bit all over the place? I can definitely understand them prioritizing Wano cards, since that is the new and popular arc right now. But of course, there's definitely going to be opportunity to cover everyone's favorite arcs at some point, and so it will be interesting to see how they kind of balance the new and old, especially in terms of power scaling. You want these cards to be balanced against each other, and at least in my mind, it doesn't really make sense for Romance Dawn cards to be as powerful as cards from Wano. So I'm interested to see how they balance that. Again, it could be an evolution type thing where you need to have a Romance Dawn Luffy out on the stage before you can kind of, quote, evolve it into a stronger Wano Luffy. I don't know. I'm very interested to see that, though. I definitely want to see how the game is going to work gameplay-wise. Another thing that's really exciting that kind of got, I feel a little overlooked, mainly because we don't have any actual images of it, is card sleeves. Yes, with a One Piece card game, that means we're also going to be getting accessories, and this is fantastic news. Even if you're not interested in the One Piece card game itself, and you're just interested in other card games, maybe you're already playing a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! And you don't have the budget to kind of splash out for multiple card games, that's fair. Card games are fairly expensive, for sure. But you know what you could do? If you're a One Piece fan who already plays Yu-Gi-Oh, you could probably sleeve those cards with some One Piece card sleeves. Now, we don't know for certain, at least I don't know for certain, what size these card sleeves are going to be. However, Japanese card games tend to have a standard size. This size is the same as Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the same as Cardfight Vanguard cards. There's a very, set sort of sizing that most Japanese originating card games tend to use, unlike American ones like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, which have slightly bigger cards. I'm gonna go ahead and assume, for now anyway, that One Piece's card sleeves will be sized with these Japanese-sized cards. Which means, hey, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Cardfight Vanguard or any other card game with a similar sized card to that, you can deck them out with One Piece card sleeves. And this is something they haven't officially announced, but I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption, if we're getting card sleeves, we're probably getting other accessories down the line too. Things like deck boxes and playmats and that kind of thing. And if so, I'm really excited to see which ones they bring out, especially if they're done by the artists who have been doing the original artwork for these cards. Not just the manga screenshot ones, but the higher rarity looking cards, because I'm going to be spending the rest of the video just gushing about the artwork of these cards, because, hoo boy. So yes, today in the live stream, the biggest piece of info we got to do with the One Piece card game is a quick look at 3 new cards, and they look incredible. So I'm going to be going through them one by one. This is the thing that made me go from I am very interested in the One Piece card game to I am going to spend a significant amount of money on the One Piece card game. Minor spoilers incoming. Yes, I know, sorry. So the first of these cards is Sabo, and I mean, just look at it. I don't know which artist did this. There is some Japanese writing down the side, so I'm sure there's an artist credit somewhere here. But we have a Sabo card. He has the same kind of red border that the Luffy card did, making me think he probably has a similar typing to Luffy, which makes sense since him and Luffy are allies and brothers. I did give the spoiler warning, whoops. As we can see here in the bottom left, this icon seems to be similar to the icon that Luffy's card had, but I don't know for certain. This card does not have a number on it. Now, that's probably just because this is, again, a placeholder just to show off how the art looks rather than to give away the mechanics of the game. So I'm assuming the, quote, finished version of the card will have numbers and text and stuff all over it to show how the card works. But man, let's just gush about this artwork some more. It looks fantastic. The composition is so good. It really leads your eye in a really satisfying way, how it kind of curves upwards. You have Sabo kind of giving a fire fist punch, and my favorite little detail of this artwork is in the bottom right, right where Sabo's legs should be, is a kind of cloud of flames, where you can see Luffy and Ace holding up their little sake cups where they make their kind of pact to become brothers with Sabo. And that is the most adorable little detail ever. I want it so badly. And the cool thing is, this looks good like this. It's probably going to look even better when the actual card is released because, well, it's probably going to be a holographic. And all those flames and things you can see in the card are probably going to be made of a shiny foiling. And it's going to look so good. This is what I mentioned earlier, where I'm interested to know how the game plays, but I'm already in as far as I want to collect these cards, sleeve them, and put them in a binder. Because, I mean, look at it. And Sabo's one of my favorite characters too, so this is a win-win. Speaking of one of my favorite characters, we got Zoro over here too. Again, to quickly point out, same red border, which once again makes sense because he is an ally with Luffy. So, seems like characters who are allied with Luffy's for now have the red border. That's the main sort of connection I've seen with them. And again, this art is just phenomenal. Look at the perspective here, you know? They could have just went for a really flat looking image of him just front on, but no, like this artist has kind of done this really dynamic shot of him like throwing his leg forward as he's about to draw one of his swords, Wado Ichimonji, and you can kind of like see like the top half of him like bending over and everything, like, and then you've got like the curve of the sword due to the forced perspective. It's so good looking, and the shading, do I even have to say anything about the shading? You can see it. And once again, just like the Sabo card, you see lots of kind of red flames and sparks around him, which are going to look incredible when they're holographic. And another thing I really like is it fits the coloring of the card, right? See, both Sabo and Zoro have this like red border around them, which is obviously some kind of gameplay mechanic, and they factor that into the artwork itself. You know, because the Zoro card is red, they've decided to cover him with these really cool red sparking, so it works thematically too. And I love that. That's so good. This is why I like it when card games get original artwork, because whilst Oda's manga panels look fantastic, if you were to just take a random manga panel and throw it on a card, it wouldn't look this good, because it wouldn't be made for a card. It would be made for a manga panel, and those two things serve different functions, if you understand what I mean. So this is the kind of card I want to see more of. And then the last card we got is another fantastic looking one. It's very different. It's a lot more kind of cartoonish looking than the other two we looked at. But that's a good thing, you know? Card games having a variety is a good thing. I like it when these artists get given room to do their own thing. Once again, we've got a fantastic perspective shot of like Law kind of shoving his hand like almost kind of out of the card. It's kind of going past the border even. And then you sort of have like his legs going all the way down, and it really is this dynamic shot. And again, the composition is fantastic because you have these like waves of energy caused by his hand, undoubtedly as he creates like one of his runes that he uses his devil fruit to use, which again kind of frames the shot so that you're looking at his hand and his face, and then you got the really cool looking sword and the way he's held it up to further frame the shot even more. It looks fantastic. It's no complaints basically. And once again, you have it fitting the color scheme of the border. This one sort of has a blue/turquoise kind of border. It might be green. I might be colorblind. I don't know. But it looks kind of turquoise or teal to me. I don't know if that's the same color as the one that the Yamato card had. But once again, it looks fantastic because, as you can see, they've kind of lightened up the color palette to fit in with it more. There's a bit of like this blue sky in the background. The like shock waves coming out of his hand are kind of white. And then, you know, you've got like his blue pants. So again, the color scheme of the card fits with the border. And as you can see in the bottom left, it's got like a slightly different icon, which seems to potentially tie into how this card is played and the color it has been assigned. Once again, as I mentioned with the Sabo one, these have probably all just got like placeholder layouts where we'll get to see the numbers and text effects and stuff assigned to them at a later date. But for now, just to show off the artwork of the card game, they really are putting their best foot forward. I do not expect every card in the game to look as good as these three, but if we get like a handful of these per set, I'll be happy. I'll be very, very happy. So yeah, that is the One Piece trading card game and everything we know about it so far. I'm very interested in it. I love One Piece. I love trading card games. I love good looking artwork. And I'm very interested to see how this game plays. Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. I'm really excited to learn more about this game as it releases later on this year. So, let me know what you think of the One Piece card game down below in the comments. And as a bonus question, let me know which of the 4 starter decks you would go for if you could only pick one. So that's the Straw Hats, the 7 Warlords, the Worst Generation, and of course the Animal Kingdom Pirates. I would chance it. I would go for the Animal Kingdom Pirates in the hopes that I could get a Yamato card. That would be my bet. But let me know which of the 4 decks you like the look of the most down below. And I will see you later. Remember, for every statement, there's always an asterisk, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See ya!